I say that.
Guys,
there we go.
This is Blindrun and Slingering drunk at 2:47 in the morning.
Yeah.
Join Blindrun and Slingering as they talk about video games every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Twitch.tv/BlindRunGaming. Thanks for tuning in, you sexy beasts. Yeah. Woohoo! Welcome to episode 120 of the Blindrun Gaming Podcast, the podcast where we stopped podcasting for a little bit, or a lot of it. Today we're going to be talking about who won between Microsoft and Sony, because we know nobody cares about Nintendo at this point. They're just off doing their own little thing. They're not really a part of the console wars, I don't think, anymore. Maybe you can change my mind on that one. And we're going to talk about Xbox Scarlet. Yes, they did finally codename the new console coming from Microsoft, so we're going to be talking about that a little bit. The game releases, and then we'll wrap up with a lightning round that has no topics, but maybe you guys. I think we're going to change the lightning round to topics you guys bring in over here. So that's how I think we should go about it. But first, what have you been playing this week, Slang?
So I've actually kind of taken a little bit of time off from real, true PC gaming. And with the recent realization that some VR games are actually fun, I've been playing a lot of Beat Sabers, which I don't know if you really call that like real gaming, since it's, you know, a rhythm game and it's in VR.
It's like when the guys go to the arcade to play DDR when Grand Theft Auto 3 was out, and you're like, okay. You know,
yeah, exactly.
Do what you want.
And I used to be one of those guys. So
my parents owned an arcade, so I definitely remember like having those and playing way too much of them. At the same time, like I played that and Soul Calibur 2 and Blitz. Those were the three cabinets that I ever touched. Was like four. So I did Pump It Up, DDR. And then Blitz and Soul Calibur 2.
I like old school Simpsons too. That was always like a throwback for me.
Dude, that shot hit hard. This is rough.
That, and I've been playing a shit ton, and this is going to be sad, but I've been playing a shit ton of Pokemon Go.
You said that, so you played this week as well, or no?
Yeah, well, so they have a monthly community day, where they just have a shit ton of specific Pokemon spawn. This week it was Larvitar, so you can go and upgrade it to Tyranitar or whatever.
What the fuck is a Larvitar?
Yeah,
see, I'm a 151 guy.
I'm a 151 guy as well, so I'm really excited about the. I'm actually going to have to buy a Switch because of Let's Go Pikachu or whatever.
So, the one that's going to integrate with Pokemon Go, and are you going to buy the ball too?
I probably won't buy the ball, but I will definitely have to buy a Switch.
I mean, you got to buy the ball.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably at least two of them.
How about you buy the ball for me?
You need two of the balls.
So I can just play with the balls all the time?
Yes, play with the balls on stream. It'll be the best video game podcast 2018.
Lure out all the pocket monsters.
All of them, good sir. All of them.
Yeah.
I need it.
No, so they had the community day yesterday, and it was actually a shit ton of people that went and played. Let me see if I can do this real quick.
Do it. So he's going to do that. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Kevin. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you here, as always. Oh, wow. That is a lot of people. How many people is that?
That's like 300 people doing what's called a raid. I don't know if you...
we talked about it last week a little bit.
So they added raids, and you can go and see. This is just a bunch of fucking people in the park going and doing, all playing Pokemon Go and all doing a raid event in the town next to mine.
Was anyone streaming this or no?
Not that I know of. It's one of those things that like I ran out of battery on my phone in low power mode.
Well, that's just scrub moves
over the course of the 3 hours. So
you always keep your Pokeball charged, okay?
Yeah.
See, the good news is if you buy that new Pokeball, you can just transfer it to a friend's when your phone dies, and you can play on his. Right? I think.
got some cross ball action there.
Well, you need a Switch and a battery, and then you just need a big ass like battery pack that just charges everybody's phone. You could charge them, dude. You could charge them like $20 an hour to charge like their fucking phones to play Pokemon Go. Look, entrepreneurship right here. I got this.
So, ended up spending 3 hours in the park with all, and the biggest thing that surprises me about the game is like, I would assume that it would be like a bunch of losers like me and younger guys than me playing the game. But
yeah,
if I sent that picture over, you can go and see that like the age range is pretty diverse and the people that are playing are pretty diverse. It's not quite 50-50, but it's probably
somehow though
60-40 guys to girls, and it spreads from what you would imagine like
well,
the different
talk shit about
spectrum.
Nintendo as much as you want, but what they've been able to do is always target kids. They're like a cult in that manner.
Well,
They've always been able to
kids.
do that, and Pokemon's been able to do that. Maybe not kids these days. At the same time, kids aren't going to be allowed to roll out with a cell phone playing Pokemon Go.
Right. The only kids that were there, obviously, were there with their parents. And most of the time, the parents had higher level accounts than their kids.
Well,
so,
yeah. Because if I'm their parents, I'm stealing their Pokemon. Because fuck off, bitches. We got a raid tonight. Give me that Mewtwo. Give it to me now.
That's one thing I will say that's frustrating about this game, though, is that none of the raids are at night. All of the raids are during the workday. So, like, between 9 and 7 is basically when the raids are. The raids basically end at 7.
Yeah.
So, if you're going to raid, like, you have to go during your lunch break or before work or like immediately after work. You'll go and hit one or two of them if you're lucky. And other than that, like, you're done. So
that's it. Beat Sabers and Pokemon Go. I never thought we would come to this. We definitely need to start the podcast up again because we need to fix this problem. But I've been playing a battle royale, so I'm just gonna fold up. I quit. We're done. I've been playing Realm Royale and Dauntless.
how have you been liking Realm Royale?
A lot. It's fun. So you're a World of Warcraft guy, right?
Yeah.
Just speed up that time frame and you get a quick 45 minute, if you make it to the end, 45-minute round, right?
Right.
You have skills, abilities that you pick up. You have item quality that you pick up. And you run around and basically try to upgrade those items while being in a battle royale game. It's cool. It's like an RPG in a battle royale. It's just fucking neat. You get basically there's like very basic mechanic changes that have been made to a battle royale, and that's that you have abilities. So you get 3 abilities per character. They have different levels of quality, so from uncommon, common to rare, and they have the different colors on them. You pick them up. Some perform better than others. Same with the weapons. Then you want to disenchant everything that you aren't going to use that comes out of the chest. So, like in Fortnite, you open a chest. You just leave whatever you don't want on the ground. Well, this game encourages you to break it down because then it has what are called forges. And so there's forges around the map. And you go to those forges and you take what you disassembled and you basically create new gear out of it. But you get to create 3 pieces of legendary gear. Well, you get 1 gear, 1 weapon, and you can create 1 ability, all legendary pieces. So you want to disenchant everything and then build those. Trick is, whenever you start building, smoke starts coming out of the top of the forge, so everybody knows you're there.
Right.
So it's cool.
So it's one of those things that you have to start building and then immediately be prepared to go and fuck someone up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a 60-second build time, so you gotta sit there for a minute. It's fun. It's cool. It's different. It's the biggest switch on the battle royale system that I've seen, other than Fortnite, of course, because Fortnite had that building thing going for it.
Right.
I think that it sits in a very good spot in the genre where it's just different enough that it can sit alongside Fortnite and PUBG and not be something that you're like, oh, it's just another pub night or PUBG or Fortnite
Pub
knockoff.
night.
Pub
I
night.
like that.
That worked.
I like
yeah.
that. Pub night is the new name for all of those types of games.
Hashtag pub night, guys. That's what we're going with tonight.
Hashtag. You gotta
do the. There you go. Hashtag pub night. And then Dauntless is just fun. Like, I like upgrading all my gear over time and fighting big monsters. The thing that makes it easier than something like Monster Hunter World is that you can go in, do a match, get some gear, get the fuck out, come back later whenever you feel like it, right? It just makes it easy. And it's basically like a WoW fix without having to have the dedication to WoW. It's a Diablo fix without having to have the dedication to Diablo. And that's why I like it. And it's always online 4-player, so you get other people to play with. But that's all I've been playing. And then drinking, I showed off the whiskey already, and you showed off the tequila. So I think we're good there. We'll move on to the first topic of the night, which is who won? Who won? Let us know in chat, too. Who won E3? Was it Microsoft or Sony? And does Nintendo count in this battle? Because I don't feel like they're really battling either one of these consoles at this point. I think it's either the PlayStation or the Xbox. But who did you think won? Did you have enough time to review this week?
So it's hard for me because obviously I have both of the consoles in my house. I don't have an Xbox One X, but I don't have a PS4 Pro either. I have the normal PlayStation 4 and the normal Xbox One. So I want both of them to go and give me compelling content.
Right.
And when I go and look at, what was announced over the course of the event, when it comes to just the exclusive content, I'd have to lean in Sony's direction. Now, I've always been a Gears of War fan. I've always loved that game. But Gears 5 is a lot harder to get excited for than The Last of Us 2. And
so we're getting to the point. I think I agree with you. I think the point you're trying to make is like nostalgia starts to get old after a certain point. You can't ride on that. I think that's why there's not that much excitement in Nintendo in general, right? Somehow they revamped that Zelda, and it made it really enticing, but I still haven't picked up a Switch for it.
Right.
What I will do is pick up a PS4 Pro and that's nostalgia. I picked it up for God of War.
Right.
But it was enough of a change. So maybe there's an argument. But I also knew, oh, wait, there's all these other titles, like new IPs coming to PlayStation 4 that I can play that are not coming to any other console, which is crazy.
That's one of the things, like Last of Us. So when you go back to the Gears versus Last of Us, like Gears of War is on version 5, and they don't even have most of the original team together anymore. So whereas Last of Us, this is going to be the second one, and it's a number of years since the first one. Like, what is it, 6 years or almost 6 years? It's 5 years.
Yeah, it was on it was like the last title for the last year of the PlayStation 3.
Right. And I only picked it up once they got the remastered edition for the PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. And it was gorgeous and a shit ton of fun. And it was, I mean, it's Naughty Dog, so like the story was huge and amazing, and just like the character development, like it's just an amazing game.
And that's a sequel, but you got to start, for me, like starting to look at the new IPs is where I was like, well, shit, like they're killing Xbox at this point, because Xbox was like, here's Forza Horizon. I like Forza Horizon. That's fine. But I could honestly play Forza Horizon 3 over and over again and probably not need 4. I mean, I played Forza Horizon 2 for forever before I bought Forza Horizon 3. They got Gears of War 5 coming out, and then they got Halo Infinite or whatever. But there's nothing new, right? There's nothing new to sink my teeth into. You go over to Sony, you get Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm like, holy shit, that looks like a badass samurai game that I want to play. They got the new Marvel Spider-Man, which is like, I want to play the shit out of that too. And these are like new IPs. Yes, Spider-Man's based off of something, but it's coming from a new studio. It's coming from a studio that did some really good titles previously, you know. It's coming from, what, Remedy? Is that correct for the Max Payne series? No, that's the Control game. Control's coming to PS4, which is Remedy, which did Max Payne and Alan Wake. And I loved both of those games. So, hell yeah, bring me that. And those are new things. And then you go talk about Microsoft, and it's like, well, what am I going to say? Like, if I go around the water cooler, I'm like, yeah, there's this new game coming out called Gears of War 5. It's like, meh. Like,
yeah. And that's like just that sentence alone, I have an issue with it, because it's like new game coming out and there's a 5 at the end of the title.
Right.
And it's like, that's not, it's not new anymore. Like, how many titles have gotten to 5? Or how many titles have even gotten 3 and still been compelling, you know?
I mean, Microsoft's able to do it. They've been able to pull it off with Gears 4. I mean, what are we on?
We talked about this last week.
Or some shit?
Gears 1, 2, and 3 was the best one. So, like, there is a chance for it to get better as it goes along. But you still, there's more hesitancy with every one, because you're like, all right, guys, like, stop fucking with it, because we're going to go and have bad memories about the things that you've already done that have already been really good. But the more you go and play with this and go and say, well, let's try to make it again, and we're going to start making fun of it like we make fun of Call of Duty or Battlefield.
Right.
You know?
And it gets to the point to where it's just the same shit. We don't want it anymore. But the problem is that's all AAA developers are doing anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, developing games is expensive, so you want to go and have something that's going to go and be a guaranteed to be a success. So when you go and have something that already has a history of success, it's a lot easier to go and say, all right, well, throw money on it, make a new version of it, and you're going to go and sell, 300 million copies.
At the same time, it seems like what Sony's able to do is make the studios and the developers popular, not the game title itself popular, and then they stand on the legs of, oh, Naughty Dog's doing this fucking game.
Right.
Because, like, they launched Last of Us. Naughty Dog already had Uncharted and was very popular off of that. And whenever you look at, like, a Sony conference, they're always talking about the studios. They're not talking about, the actual, like, game title. And I think Microsoft kind of screwed themselves there a little bit, even with like their relationship with with studios in general, because if you remember, they used to be the Call of Duty exclusive. They lost that. I think they've lost a lot of the industry partnerships that they used to have. They lost Cliffy B for Gears of War and here's the plain fact of the matter. I think both Cliffy B and Microsoft are at fault for Lawbreakers failing. And I think that if they would have let Cliffy B move on when he wanted to move on to a new title, to a new IP, that would have been the smartest move for Epic at that time. Right. If they would have moved away right when that whole Gears of War Judgment thing happened, we'd still have fond memories of Gears 3. Maybe at this point, Cliffy would have been like, yeah, I do want to do another Gears game. And then we would have had a good, nice break between them. And maybe the title that he would have released in between there would have been good. Instead, we got Lawbreakers, which failed miserably, not because it was necessarily a bad game, but let's be frank, it probably didn't have near the budget that somebody like Cliffy B's used to.
Right. No, that's a good point. Actually, Bimby brings up a good point, though. So, like, through all of this discussion, we're talking about something that we inherently hate. We don't want to go and see system exclusives. We don't want to go and see something that we have to buy a Sony.
As a consumer, yes. But I think some of that, my opinion on that personally has changed a little bit just from understanding the way the industry works and how having an exclusive title as a developer makes it easier for you to develop. It's a lot less stressful, which usually interprets into a better product at the end of the day.
You take 20 to 30% off your production costs from, and those are production costs that don't lead to a higher quality game when you can focus on one console or one distribution method. When you go and have to do localization or rewriting your engine to go and work nicely with the Sony architecture or the Microsoft architecture, or you have to go and make it such that your game runs smoothly on both, you end up cutting corners on the Microsoft version of the game and the Sony version of the game because their hardware doesn't play well with certain things, and end up to go and keep a steady product between the two ecosystems. You end up with something that's not as good if you focused on one of them. So yeah, like you end up with a better product when you do an exclusive, but when people aren't as dedicated, there's issues, when you can't go and play a game because you don't have the hardware, because you've invested in a certain architecture, you feel a little cheated.
Yeah. And I mean, Bibby brings up Minecraft, and there's other titles that are similar to that too. You talk about the kind of the rise of the indie that's not really indie anymore, but you got PUBG, like most of the big titles that were popping in the past 5 to 10 years have been indie titles. They get massive followings. I mean, aside from something like World of Warcraft or Pokemon, the really large AAA things that kind of took everything over, they have been, for a majority of titles that have gotten really, really big, have been that kind of indie dev thing. There was like the Fez. There's a whole bunch of them. At the same time, those are never anything that are going to be console showpieces, because they will never push the technology as far as they need to go. Because
the graphics on an indie title are never, the things that they're going to want to show off at E3 and be like, look at what our shit can do. It's always going to be, oh, look at this 8-bit thing. Yeah, it might have the best gameplay in the world. It might have the most amazing storyline, compelling characters, you name it. It could be jam-packed with awesome, but the graphics fidelity isn't going to be there.
Well, yeah, you're not going to see Brother Tale of Two Sons or A Way Out on there, right? As good as the gameplay mechanics are, you're not going to. And I mean, that brings up the next topic, which is Xbox is already deep into creating the next Xbox, which they did finally codename Scarlet, which is interesting. And as opposed to being a single console, it's supposedly going to be a family, quote, a family of devices. Sorry. And
that's the thing that I kind of wonder what the hell's going on. Like,
and
are they
coming
going
out
mobile?
in 2020? Technically, I would say Xbox is already a family of devices.
Just with the Xbox One and
Xbox One S, Xbox One
Right.
X, Windows 10. Count every Windows 10 PC in on that too, because every game is coming out for all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
what else?
To say that, though. Like,
what else do they want to push to at this point? Mobile? Is it gonna be? And then if it's gonna be mobile, like, are they working on? I mean, we know they did like advertise cloud processing in the past. Are they getting ready now that they have the server infrastructure thanks to Azure? Now they have that built out. Are they just going to start doing all the processing in the cloud? That's kind of what I'm thinking they're going to do. At the same time, does that push enough visual fidelity and even resolution to really compete if they do decide to go that route? Or do they just completely bury themselves to the PlayStation 5?
You can get Netflix in 4K. So the visual fidelity is there. I'm more worried about latency.
Well, yes. How much cloud processing power for that visual fidelity will cause a significant latency.
Right.
Which makes the games impossible to be competitive on. Which then...
Especially when you go and look at, like, all of the indie stuff that we just mentioned, almost all of them are focused on extremely tight windows of gameplay. Yeah, you can go and play The Last of Us on something where, there's 100 millisecond lag on your, controller input and still have an awesome experience. And while it won't be the greatest because some of the fighting won't be perfect, but you're still going to go and be able to enjoy the story, enjoy some of the...
Here's the second part to that, though, or for me, the biggest question is, have they even really pushed these consoles to the limit yet? Because I don't feel like the Xbox One X or the PS4 Pro, for that matter, have really been pushed to their actual limit yet. I feel like they're way too early in the life cycle, and I don't think that Des has done enough with them. Maybe the PS4 Pro, right? But the
I don't know
Xbox
that that's
One
true.
X just barely released, like... Is it?
Yeah, but it's not the problem with the Xbox One X is that it's not there wasn't a hard break. When you go and buy a game, it can work on both of them, and you're not if you have a normal Xbox One at home, you're not expecting to go to the store and not be able to go and buy the Xbox One
Fair enough.
disc and not be able to play it.
But
they need to get to a point where you can go to the store and your Xbox One isn't going to be able to play that disc anymore.
But does it have to be that way anymore? Like, well, and maybe it does, right? I mean, you bring up a valid enough point, because I would say that all we're really getting is resolution and frame rate improvements. But probably getting resolution and frame rate improvements that we should have gotten on last gen title, or on whatever this mid-gen original release of Xbox One was, right?
Right. No, the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro is what we should have got at the release of this console cycle.
Yeah, especially since the hardware is obviously not next gen hardware. Like, the hardware is literally still the same AMD GPUs and the same AMD CPUs for the most part, just maybe a little bit more cores, a little bit more clock speed, and that's it. So they could have built them in theory.
Yep.
A while ago, and they didn't. And yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
So until they go and have another break, until they go and segregate out the Xbox One players, just like they segregated out the Xbox 360 players, and segregate out the PS3, PS4 players, and go and jump to, true 4K 60 FPS. And yes, you can hit that on the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, but until they cut away the lower end hardware and make the jump to the next gen, you can't, I'd have a hard time arguing that they're getting the most out of this stuff.
The assets are just upscaled. They're not true 4K assets ever.
Right.
And so that's fair enough.
It's either they're upscaled or they're downscaled to go and work on normal Xbox Ones. And it's like, yeah, you could do that, because you can have the
other problem you have with that,
people playing like Dota 2 or League of Legends, like some of them are playing on 660 graphics cards, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old graphics cards, and you have people that are playing on dual 1080 Ti's and SLI, and all of them are having a good experience. So there is the opportunity that you can go and have that kind of fragmentation in the console realm, just like you have in the PC realm. But do we really want that?
But are devs actually pushing that hardware as far as it can go, if that's the case? That's the question I have, right? I don't think the Xbox One X or PS4 Pro are getting pushed as far as they could be. I just don't think it is. I mean, it's not like the PS3, right, where it took and that was a long ass cycle. What was that? Almost a 10-year cycle.
Right.
And then it wasn't till 7 years into it that you got The Last of Us, and it was really pushed as far as it could go.
Right.
And was a super impressive title. I don't think that's ever going to happen with any of these consoles that we currently have, Xbox or PlayStation. I just don't see it happening. I think that's also, though, why just the PC market's taken a huge increase in the entire gaming market as it stands. Consoles are not that appealing for as much as they used to be, right?
For the beginning of 2018, consoles were pretty attractive when you looked at GPU prices.
True. Yeah. Thanks to those damn miners.
Yeah, those assholes.
Those fuckers. Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough, and we'll have to see what happens. The other rumor that I saw, I didn't put in the show notes or anything, but we saw the biggest thing that was curious to me is Navi from AMD is apparently primarily developed for consoles. I stated this actually, that I thought they were doing that a while back, and people were like, oh, that's stupid, they wouldn't do that. And I was like, that's where they make their money, though. AMD makes their money off of discrete embedded GPUs for consoles. It's guaranteed revenue. And so a lot of people are upset right now because the rumor is that Navi is primarily for consoles and secondary for embedded GPUs for desktop. And I think that it's probably, if we had to guess, knowing Xbox, it's going to be in the Scarlet as well in some form or fashion.
I mean, when people go and bring that argument up, I just have to go and lean in and say, okay, so are you going to sign up to go and buy, 5 million desktop
5
GPUs?
million. Well,
Like,
and the other
if you
thing
go and
is,
do that, then you can convince AMD to go and design.
the only
whatever
thing
the
I
fuck you
brought,
want.
the only thing I brought up was like literally AMD, like back for the 360, produced that initial line for the 360 only. So it totally makes sense to me. I've seen that, and that was after, because I think the original Xbox had NVIDIA, and then they swapped over to the AMD GPUs for the 360, and that was a super super big push for them. I think both for Microsoft and for AMD. So mutually beneficial to have that type of partnership, and totally makes sense. That's
why do you think it helped
I
for
would go.
Microsoft?
Why do you think it helped for Microsoft?
Yeah,
Because
like I understand why it would help AMD, but like why would having choosing NVIDIA over AMD over NVIDIA go and be a better benefit for them outside of,
because NVIDIA was
cost.
not going to give them a GPU that wasn't already on the market.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think they were going to. I think that's why they made the swap. And then cost, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, they're. You might not
Nvidia's a lot less likely to do it than AMD is, because AMD sees that market. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know why Nvidia's assholes is because they don't need to do stuff. It's the same reason Intel's assholes is because they haven't needed to do stuff, right?
I wouldn't necessarily call them assholes.
I would call them business savvy.
Yeah, they got to where they got because they're good.
Yeah,
and choosing not to pursue, business decisions because
you would maybe put it along the lines of like a tech tuber being able to turn down an ad or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that goes. So I don't know though. I like Navi is going to be for PS5. It maybe is for Microsoft, but what they're saying is interesting. It almost sounds like Microsoft might be going back to NVIDIA. And the reason I say that is cloud processing for graphics is stronger on NVIDIA side for gaming right now. And it sounds like they're getting ready to do cloud processing. And the only other like tablet that's out that went into a console is running NVIDIA, the Tegra chip on the Nintendo Switch.
Right.
So I almost want to call right now that Microsoft might be going back to NVIDIA at this point. I mean, I'll do that call. I feel comfortable enough with it.
I would be surprised mostly because AMD needs the business. NVIDIA might be ahead of AMD when it comes to their, technical expertise and ability to go and produce a, high quality chip, but AMD needs it more.
Right. No, I agree with you there. But what I'm saying is the type of there's two reasons that make me think this. One, they announced the console and it has family of devices, and two, we already got leaks on PS5 being AMD. I feel like AMD's not as good at keeping that like wrapped up as like other companies NVIDIA are. Yeah. And I feel like we would already have a leak saying the next Xbox running Navi.
Right.
That's why. Those are the two reasons. Now, of course, that's super tinfoil hat, may or may not happen. But if I had to take a guess just from what I know about the abilities that NVIDIA also has on cloud processing and mobile, because their mobile Tegra chips for 3D rendering are really, really good, and the Shield tablets only gotten better since we've had it. I see no problems with standing behind that.
Right.
And the hardware's got to be cheap now. A Tegra's got to be pretty cheap at this point.
Now, what do you think the multiple consoles will be for Scarlet? Do you think it'll just be, okay, we'll have a Scarlet Pro and a Scarlet, consumer edition? Or
that's what I'm saying. They kind of already technically have a family of devices. So I'm
Right.
not sure what they're referring to, unless, yeah, it's like, here's a HoloLens, a tablet, and a dock.
Right.
That's my guess, is literally, if I had to guess right now, I'd say it's going to be a HoloLens, a tablet, and a dock.
You really think they're going to go mobile? Because I don't think they're going to go mobile.
I think the dock will have additional processing power, or similar to what we see with the GPU stations for your Macs and everything else, or for your laptops.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
it'll have additional processing power on the dock, but I think, yes, it'll be essentially a dock, but it's still going to be more powerful than a Switch, because when plugged into the dock.
I would lean to yes. There's going to be I would disagree and say that they're not going to go mobile. They will go because they haven't gone mobile. There's never been a mobile, Microsoft anything.
That's fine.
Outside of laptops, which arguably you could argue the mobility there and whether or not that's actually what that's
But
not something
at
Microsoft actually
E3
makes. They just put
At
their
E3,
software.
remember they had that whole segment of Play Anywhere, and they had you pulling it up on the laptop, on your cell phone, wherever you wanted.
I understand that. I would go and more lean towards that they're offering more of like a streaming service, and you can go and basically put your effectively hardware keys. You can put your discs. You can put log into your console,
Right.
and you can buy a consumer version or a pro version, and those will go and allow you to stream to all your devices, which it's also streaming through their servers. So it's kind of like a mix of both. But I would say that they're going to have a consumer Scarlet console.
Okay.
They're going to have a pro Scarlet console, and the pro Scarlet console will come with a HoloLens.
Will come with the HoloLens. So we agree on HoloLens.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's coming. I think it's going to be an add-on / the higher end version of it will come with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. Why would Microsoft, Bimby, ever use Linux? They have their own operating system. That doesn't make any sense business-wise for them. That's like complaining if, like, Apple doesn't allow you to run Windows programs on their cell phones or whatever. Android
Or
programs.
install
on their cell
Android
phones.
on their cell phones, yeah.
I don't see that happening. Of course, I guess they allowed people to install Windows 10 on their MacBooks, but we all know that's because HIPAA. And that's different. That was a government thing. So, whatever. I think that's going to wrap it up here for our topics. Let's get into game releases of the week, and then we'll go hit up chat. We got Mario Tennis Aces coming to the Switch. I'm not that interested.
No.
Nope.
No. Next up on the list is new Gundam Breaker for PS4 and PC. Also, I've never been a Gundam fan.
So,
some of my
the only
friends are
thing-
disappointed about that, but
It looks like pretty poor assets. The only thing that I found interesting was that, do you remember that old, what was the Army Men game? You know what I'm talking about? You had the little Army Men.
yeah.
You ran around in the houses with them. Fuck.
yeah.
They have like levels like that where there's like bathtubs and you're just shrunken down Gundam characters like the
I think it's literally
figures.
called Army Men, by the way.
Yeah, I think so too. So that intrigued me. That's about all that intrigued me there. And then PUBG is getting a new map.
I like how this is
Sandhawk.
considered a game release for the week.
Yeah,
I am a big PUBG fan. I will probably be coming back to play some PC games because of that.
come play
That
some
alone.
PUBG. We'll try Realm
Yeah.
Royale tonight. We'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there. Questions in chat. Why would Microsoft allow Sony to play with their Xbox? Because Microsoft is behind, and Sony is not. I mean, you want to be straight up about it. That's how that rolls. I don't think that there's any kind of secrecy there. Sony has worldwide a ton more consoles sold at this point. Looks like that'll wrap it up, though. It doesn't look like we'll have any more questions. I have nothing for the lightning round. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Slang?
No, I do not. Let's jump into some Realm Royale.
Cool. We're going to do an after party, guys. We will be back. I'm just going to hit stop streaming, change the title and game name, and then we'll move on to that. Bimby, mouse and keyboard on consoles is coming to the Xbox, according to Phil Spencer. He's tweeted about it multiple times. They're working on the logistics of it. I would assume that the next-gen console, it'll already be supported feature right off the bat, especially with their Play Anywhere or push for Play Anywhere. I think that's a foregone conclusion at that point. I don't know if it'll come to the previous-gen consoles, but I think the next-gen console from Microsoft in particular will already have support for that because of Play Anywhere. Cool. See you guys in a sec.